All right. All right. What do we got here tonight? How's everybody doing? Squirrel, I see you're in here. Maybe. What's up, Andy? How you doing? Andy? Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, great. Stephen, if you're there and you'll click on that link if you're already in here. Should be in the chat. John, Small Water Charters, how you doing? How much did those fish weigh on the wall behind you? Wow. You really want to know? Well, this one was about 5 or 6 pounds. I can't remember. And that one was 14 pounds, 13 ounces, if that helps you out. Well, tonight we got we're gonna be talking about duck hunting. There you go. Now I got Stephen finally. He's gonna be here shortly. Hey Ted, how you doing? Frontier Survival, what's going on? We're gonna be talking ducks. We're gonna bring Stephen up. See if I can. So how you been, man? Yeah, I saw the videos you put out, John. Got them Osceolas with the pullets and all them whistlers. I just posted okay. I just posted Stephen Finley's his channel. Y'all are interested in it, go ahead and take a look at it. There he is. Hang tight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Daddy Duck 365 proudly presents Mr. Stephen Finley from the great state of Alabama.
Yep, Alabama. How about that?
How about that? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm originally from Texas, just so it's noted. I've always heard that if someone's from Texas, they'll tell you. You don't have to ask them.
Yeah, it's just like Marines. You know,
Hoorah.
you don't have to ask. We will just tell you.
Right, as you should. As
exactly.
You should.
Hold on, let's see here. Give me 1 second. I don't know if anybody can see that. Oop. Whistling ducks and turkeys in the man's front yard.
Well, it sounds like he might have a problem. We need to go eradicate some birds.
I'm telling you. Greg, how you doing, buddy? Welcome in. Yeah, it's about time.
Smoke and Barrel Outdoors. Hey, I appreciate the Instagram follow. Thank you.
Let's see here. We got Squirrel, Heath from Frontier Survival, John from Small Water Charters.
How much did that fish weigh? He wanted to know.
Oh, this one? Yeah, he asked me earlier. I told him. That one was 14 pounds, 13 ounces. That one is about, I can't remember. It was either 5 or 6. This one was my very first big fish. And then I caught that one. And,
so what constitute a big fish? I'm just curious. Because I feel like that's one of those standards that some people have.
For me, some people anything over 5 is I consider it a big bass.
Right, a big one. So hey, here's an interesting thing. By the way, I just want everybody to know it is hot as fire outside, but I'm in my office at work and it's super cold, so that's why I'm wearing a hoodie. But I just got back from Dolphin Island, Alabama, down on the coast. They have the Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo. It's like the largest fishing tournament, saltwater tournament rodeo thing in the country, possibly the world. I saw a 14-foot, almost 700-pound shark.
Wow!
And I think I'm gonna let my kids swim in the beach. Nope. Not anymore.
I don't
not no more.
I don't
I did get this cool.
I don't swim at the beach.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't even like to go to the beach. I just go to the beach to make my wife happy so she'll let me go hunt ducks.
Yep.
I call that wife season.
Yep. Jaws messed me up. That movie Jaws. Yeah, right. That one messed when it first came out. Yeah, that messed me up bad. I like the saltwater fish, but coastal, for redfish and speckled trout and stuff. But
oh yeah, I love that stuff. That's actually fishing was my drug of choice, so to speak, before I started duck hunting. So it was yeah, I'm in love with them.
With ducks.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm definitely in love with ducks.
Yeah, I like to fish, but my problem is I like to eat them. And no one, I always get razzed by, I will keep fish, and I will eat fish.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get fussed at by guys that release bass, But the fish that I do keep, they come out of a pond, and we have a private family pond, and you got to take fish out or they'll overpopulate.
Sure, yeah,
and they'll get stunted, and you'll have fish kills and all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm the only person that has Crisco in his tackle bag. Yes, sir. I got Crisco and fish fry.
Some Tony Satcheries in the lower box.
In the lower box.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So that fish rodeo, this was its 89th year. So it's been around for a really long time.
Oh, okay.
And this was the first year in like a decade that they allowed. So they have 33 categories, which would be 33 feces, 33 species of fish. And they were allowing them to catch sharks this time. And people were losing their freaking minds that you would be catching sharks. So a little backstory with that. Down on Dolphin Island at the end of it, you've got like a Coast Guard area, and then you have this sort of sea lab from the University of South Alabama. So you've got people studying fish for a living, and then you've also got Mississippi State, which is an ag school that's pretty close down here, and they've got a professor there. I think they call him Dr. Shark, like he studies sharks. So the tournament worked with these biologists to make sure that it was okay to harvest these fish, that the populations were good, and they've got all this data and all this science to prove this stuff that, hey, we can now hunt sharks, or we can now fish for sharks. And people were still losing their minds. They were catching sharks. As soon as they started weighing in, the first 20 minutes was 4 tiger sharks.
Wow.
So the anglers were saying that the population seemed to be healthy. It's pretty easy to catch a shark, and it's actually really hard to bring in a fish without the shark catching your fish.
Yeah.
So I say the people that think you need to save sharks maybe need to go swimming a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me, how many are down there?
Yeah. That's right.
Right?
I shout from 100 yards up the beach.
Yeah. Actually, one guy, he weighed in a shark and he caught it on the beach in Orange Beach. I mean, and that thing, he brought it in the back of like a Nissan Frontier or something because he pulled it off the beach. And, I mean, that thing was like 8 foot long.
Good Lord.
Like the same beach people swim in.
Oh, yeah.
Tiger shark. Come on. No thanks.
I've caught a few of them. I think the biggest one I've ever caught was like maybe 5 foot. I mean, I have caught a few of them. Some what they call, well, we call them sand sharks, but I think they're actual sand tigers. We just call them little sand sharks.
Right. Yeah. I see small water charters talking about, and Shark Week's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that's what's feeding it. He also says he's in Okeechobee where there's gators. Giant lizards that can eat you, sharks that can eat you. So, it's a dangerous world we live in,
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah, you die if you go to Chicago.
Here we go running through it during early teal season.
Right. Yeah, watch out for snakes, alligators.
Cottonmouths.
Right.
Red wasp and alligators.
Mm-hmm. And yellow jackets. Don't forget yellow jackets.
Oh, yeah. But
all right. Well, I got a question. I've
sure.
got a couple questions. I
do too, but before we start,
okay. Oh, okay.
Before you start with questions, introduce yourself to the guys that are here, and
hey, everyone.
Just introduce yourself. Talk about your channel, and what you do, and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, cool. So first of all, my name's Stephen Findley. I am a photographer, videographer here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, same place as the University of Alabama. So roll tide. I'm not one of those obnoxious spammers, so don't worry. Gamecocks. Hey, fantastic school, fantastic rivalry. I still hate Steven Garcia from, I don't even know what year that was, but he beat my side. So I'm unforgiving. Anyway, I have a duck hunting problem. I'll admit it. And so what I actually do is because I'm a videographer, I tend to take my cameras hunting with me. I do work with some outdoor brands. I do get the opportunity to go to some pretty cool places and hunt with some pretty cool people, which is just fascinating to me, which is why I even started a YouTube channel anyway. It's kind of like I have all this footage and it just lives on hard drives, and I learn a lot and I get to see cool places and stuff. So my YouTube channel was a place to share that. So that's a little bit about me. I'm married and have 2 little girls. My youngest daughter is special needs. So that's kind of another reason, a deeper reason I got into doing some of the YouTube stuff, to, eventually get enough subscribers to be able to monetize that, to, put that aside for her. So, I don't mean for that to sound like like I'm poor mouthing people, or that I'm trying to use her story to get subscribers. No. I'm certainly not. It's just, it's, God forbid if something happens to me and my wife, she has to live off the government. So I'm doing what I can to. we don't even have to get into that.
We don't have to go there.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to do my little share and do something I enjoy, and hopefully see where that goes.
Right.
And that kind of stuff.
Real quick, hey John, if you're listening, you're the only moderator that I have in here tonight. could you find his channel and post it again for the new people that are coming up that may want to go to his channel and take a look at it later on? It would be greatly appreciated. If you can't figure it out, let me know and I'll do it. It just may take me a few minutes.
Yeah, it's just my name and this ugly mug that you see here.
Yeah,
that's it. So, and then I think I only have like 14 videos right now, which is fine. It's kind of one of those things I just now, this hunting season, I'm going to try to get serious about it. And share
Grant's in here. Appreciate it, Grant.
Some stuff. So anyway, enough out of me.
Listen, guys, if y'all don't have him, I found him maybe less than a year ago, by accident. I was doing some research on some of the lifetime decoys because I wanted to do videos on them, and he did one. And what? No, not you, John. Not you, John. The JON John. From Small Water Charter. Sorry. Anyway, I found this video that he did on lifetime decoys, and this man has a sense of humor that I appreciate.
Self-deprecating humor. Never take yourself too seriously.
And I just went, I like this dude. His sense of humor is kind of off there like mine is at times, and I was like, I like him.
Right. That's because my filter was broken when I was born.
Yeah.
I was born without it, whatever you want to call it.
And the video you did when you thought your decoys were stolen was how you were keeping your composure driving there was beyond me, because I'd have been livid.
I look back and think, how was I driving the speed limit?
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, at that point, what was I going to do? You know, it used to be worse. All my stuff gets stolen, and then I get a speeding ticket, you know.
Everybody that's coming in, appreciate it. Let's see here. We got hunting and stuff with John, J&J, which is John. We got Grant McIntosh in here. Appreciate your help, Grant. Mark J. Larson's in the house. Coastal Fever TV's in the house. If I missed anybody, I apologize. But yeah, y'all get a chance. Write his name down and his channel name, and do the you know, take a look at it. And if you like what you see, watch the video like we're supposed to, then subscribe, then hit the like and comment stuff.
Yeah, actually, honestly, like, content is kind of difficult to produce, even if I have a lot of it. If there's something specific that you guys are interested, like, and I'm saying this for you too, Matt, like, the best thing that could help somebody make YouTube videos is put something in the comments. Hey, I really like this point you made. Elaborate in your next video, or have you tried that gear? Or, hey, I noticed that you did that. This has been my experience.
Yep.
It really sucks to post a video and people are like, good job. I mean, that's nice, but it's like, we're duck hunters. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you make mention of that. And Saturday, Smoking Barrels, who's a good friend of mine, he lives just right up the road. We were in the swamp Saturday. He was in his boat, I was in my boat.
Swamp? Okay. Not walking around in boats. Got it.
Yeah. And we were in the swamp, and I had a subscriber come up to me at the boat landing. And later on in the day, I actually saw him again up in the swamp. And I stopped, and my first question was, what is it you like about my channel? What do you want me to do? Is there anything different? Is there something you want to see? I mean, I'm in South Carolina. I shoot wood ducks. That's, it is what it is.
They're delicious. Don't stop.
They're very delicious. But is there something else? What do you like about my channel? So I got what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of add some color to that because you were talking about Lifetime, and I know you like their stuff.
Yep.
Kind of reiterate some of the things you talked about. One of the reasons I particularly like them, not only because they're a Texas brand, and so am I. They're basically Crocs, and you mentioned that EVA foam, which we talked about, which is the same kind of foam you see in like a fishing rod that's not cork. The guys that make them are really nice guys. I actually one of the guys there, JJ Gustafson, who was a former offensive lineman at A&M, or was at A&M. We got to be friends through some photography work and stuff like that. And he kind of showed them to me, and I was like, man, these things are great. Even better for public land. So I took them to North Dakota in 2020, I think, and walked for what felt like ever. I can't imagine what it would be like with, like a Tangle Free or a Dakota. Both of those look so realistic, but man, I got to say, I'll trade some of the realism for weight, 10 to 1.
Yeah. I think they look good.
No, I mean, I think they look great. And honestly, if a duck has that big of a problem, they get close enough to see that it's not real.
They're dead.
They're going to have other problems. Other problems.
I feel the same way. I mean, I think Dakota has the best color scheme out there.
Same
by far.
I agree.
I think Smoking Barrels, he's a Dakota fan. But I'm hard on my stuff, dude. I mean, I can't tell you. Every year I was having to replace teal decoys for teal season because I'd shoot them. Teal come into decoys, I shoot them. Ducks come into the decoys, they hit the water. I'm swatting. I'm not there to play games. And but these things, I mean, I put a load of number 5s in a teal decoy last year, and didn't hurt it. I mean, it just doesn't hurt it. Oh, Neil from W6 Outdoors is here. What's up, buddy? But I like them. They're light. The only thing I think like I've said in the videos, the only thing I think can destroy them is a lab.
Right, puppy, right, and they can destroy a freaking steel ball. Grant McIntosh, I was born in Houston, grew up in Livingston, and when I started high school, I moved to Alabama. So, I've actually never killed ducks in that part of the area, that part of the country, and they smash them over there, like Trinity River stuff, where Dr. Duck shoots a bunch of his in Texas. If you guys follow him, like my brother lives right down the road from there. I just suck at life, so I don't ever go home and shoot it.
I'll freak you out here in a minute. I guided in Katy for the last part. It went in from the last part of the duck season into the snow goose season, way in, into the spring season. But I guided there. Of course, the guy that owned it, he's long gone, but he passed away many years ago. But I got it when I got out of the Marine Corps. I got it there for just a little bit.
I appreciate the compliment, Mark J. Larson Outdoors. He's got a great channel. Thank you. Unless you weren't talking about me, then that's cool too. I can't wait to see who the guy you're talking about is.
Cool Ed Fries in the house. How you doing? John. Foam field don't rattle as loud. Yeah, but I do. I like the Lifetime. I mean, I'd have their goose decoys. We just don't hunt geese here. I mean, I ain't got enough of them to hunt, so why get them?
Right. I guess where you guys are, you would have to go much more coastal. Or well, let me see. South Carolina, you could probably catch some if you go east, maybe. I mean, definitely east on the seaboard, right?
Well, the Atlantic flyaway goose season is closed.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and so you're hunting resident geese. During
It's frowned upon to shoot geese at a golf course.
yeah, and I just don't care to shoot a goose because I want to eat it. That's been feeding on nothing but grass.
Right.
I want now if they were in the cornfields
Mm-hmm.
and they've been doing a big feed in the cornfields, I would say yeah.
So what you're saying is you need to go put corn out on the back nine.
Yeah, exactly. That or rice.
He's been eating on hole 17. I'm gonna kill him. Right. Hey, here's an interesting thing I didn't realize. A friend of mine who's a farmer over in Arkansas has a really big farm called Byers Farm. Been around since I guess his grandfather started in the 50s. We were talking about some of the stuff you and I were talking about, Matt, about South Carolina used to be like the duck hunting used to be much better than it is now. And he actually said South Carolina was the first state that started growing rice.
Yep.
The Germans came over, and then kind of eventually it made its way to Arkansas. I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, rice was grown here way before. This was the first state.
He gone.
I'm gonna plug a book. This is called The Last Rice Planter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll notice the name at the top,
yeah,
that's my dad.
He was the last rice planter?
No, he wrote the book.
He wrote the book.
He's old enough.
Right.
Yeah, rice was grown when they were growing rice on the coast, and there was some rice grown inland.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were growing it on the coast, there were huge duck clubs popping up everywhere. One in particular was out in Georgetown, and the presidents would come here to hunt ducks.
Right.
That's how good the duck hunting was.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be, hey, Frank, it used to be crazy good. What's going on, buddy? But it was crazy good here. And it lasted till about I'd say during the late 70s, early 80s is when it started. Really started going downhill quick.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think obviously the flyway had to have shifted, and we know that most of the time it's because of habitat loss. Is it? I see somebody over here. Who was it? Small Water said this is sugar country. Did like the crop shift as well, or like what happened in your opinion?
All right, so
history lesson.
After the war,
I'll listen up.
After the War of the Northern Aggression, the traditional rice. Huh?
Is that Saigon? Are you going Saigon on me?
No, the Northern Aggression, because there was nothing civil about it.
Right.
Majority of the rice planters went under, and and everybody was moving west, and they found better land.
Right.
The South, because during Reconstruction, they couldn't get machinery just started coming into play.
Mm-hmm.
People weren't, they were so used to the free help, so to quote unquote free help.
I see what you're saying. And
there was a shift west with the rice with rice production. That started hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was farmers who were farming up until I'd probably say the 70s. There were the farmers would leave hedgerows.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be, these old rice plantations that weren't actually on the coast, but maybe inland. they were being drained. So they were being planted now in corn, tobacco, soybean. So there was a difference in food. And of course, loss of habitat, and a total shift, in my opinion, of birds moving more westerly from the Atlantic flyway. Because in the in the 60s, I mean, you could only shoot one mallard in Arkansas,
Right.
but yet I think the limit was 4 here, 4 or 5 during the 60s or whatever. Of course, 65 was the year I was born, so I didn't get to hunt the 60s, but I did get to hunt the late 70s. And it was nothing to shoot mallards. I mean, really. I mean, we had our good years, we had our bad years, but there was plenty of food in the swamps. And then over, the Santee Swamp, which was...
I've heard of Santee.
It was flooded 1939, 1940. When you keep something flooded constantly and it starts killing out your vegetation and your oak trees and so forth, that's what makes Arkansas so great. And it's not only do they have the rice fields, but they also have flooded timber that they flood.
Right.
By
the way, for the folks on here, I didn't mention I do live in Alabama, but I have a club that I'm in Arkansas, and that's predominantly where I hunt. So, just that's probably helpful to know. So
yeah. So, you have that situation,
right.
And then, like I said, we started seeing a decline in mallards in the late 70s and early 80s. A decline, not a total gone, but a decline.
Mm-hmm.
When this started happening in our state, people started building duck ponds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't have a problem with duck ponds, but they were planting corn. And they'd flood this corn ponds. Now, I mean, I do have issues with that because to me, it's just legalized baiting. But I'm not going to sit here and tell a man what he can and can't do on his own property. As long as it's legal, he can do what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
But that started a shift. Now, 1 or 2 corn ponds doesn't hurt anything, but when you have hundreds and thousands up and down the flyway, and not just the Atlantic flyway, but Mississippi and now Central flyway. And I've never hunted the Pacific. Well, I've hunted it in California, but I don't know much about the Pacific flyway.
Hey, W6 Outdoors, where are you at? Where are you shooting in moist soil?
I think he's out of Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. But you would have all these corn ponds, so there started being a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in I did a video a while back called
Gotcha.
Migration Change, and is the migration changing? And I went into a lot of detail about refuges, that kind of stuff, planting.
Right.
Private areas would now start planting and flooding these fields. Some of your bigger units. I mean, you got Honey Break, you got Tony Vandemore's place. I can't remember the name of it. Habitat Flats.
You got Hooray Ranch. You got
and
Bonkers.
Yeah, you'll go in there and he'll plant these areas and he'll only hunt 10% of it. The rest of it he leaves as a refuge.
Yeah. By the way, just as a side note for all you guys, I got to work on a honey break deal last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
One morning, that was the collateral damage. So The dining and all of the things, the accommodations are excellent. I'm not talking bad about the place. I'm just saying, a lot of the people that go there, they ain't trying to kill no ducks.
Yeah,
they're trying to kill Jack D and some time. Is what they're trying to.
Yeah.
Anyway, great
but
place. Great
so
place.
yeah, I think it's a lot of different things, that started back in the late 1800s after the war, and it's just kept going, and of course the loss of habitat on the Atlantic Flyway.
It's interesting.
If we're strictly talking Atlantic, then that's what it is.
Gotcha. One of the things that has kind of come out of some of this stuff, Jim Ronquist and the guys at Express Boats did a thing. I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's talking about some of this. It's talking about kind of what's happening with the ducks. Anyway, I can't remember what it's called. I suck. Sorry. One of the things they attributed to, along with loss of land, is farming equipment
being too good.
Yeah, being too good. Yeah, I can't get the words out. It's efficiency.
Too proficient.
Yeah, so what they might leave, 60% or 40% waste grain, now they're like 98% efficient. So you've got a ton of this ground that's flooded, but it ain't got no food, and people think, oh, well, there's a cut rice field out there, there's food in it. Not until invertebrates start growing in it, there's not.
Right.
And the snow goose get in it, and it's done in 2 days.
Yeah, there's a study done, ducks' daily usage, and they said that ducks, if you had a field, the 2,000 ducks could eat out 200 acres in days.
You little pigs! That's why we kill them. We're trying to save the grass.
We're trying
to save the crops.
Yeah, I mean, it's and it's a lack of food. If you came out here,
that real quick, that Express thing is called State of Waterfowl. It's really, really interesting because they go way deep into that stuff. Express State of Waterfowl.
Wait a minute, let me write that down.
I mean, they're talking about telemetry studies, pilofatry, which is basically the species pairing up and returning home to where they're where they're nesting from. That's what philopatry is. But
is that on YouTube or is that somewhere
else? So they put it out. It's also on Instagram. But they're working with I think Paul Link. Paul Link is basically the head waterfowl biologist for the state of Louisiana, and he's a North Dakota guy, which he's very knowledgeable. He's doing a ton with specks. Speckled belly geese, which is my favorite. That's the Lord's goose. It's just really interesting because if we're duck hunters 365 and we really care about conservation, I mean, they're taking it down the wormhole. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of interesting nerdy stuff, but I'm kind of into that nerd stuff about my ducks,
Yeah, Neil just State of Waterfowl has a panel of 6 or 8 guys. Great series to watch.
Yeah. So one of those guys is the guy from Byers Farm. His name's Cason Short. That he's a buddy of mine, and my camp house is right next to his. He's been doing this stuff for like 40 years, and he's just such a really good resource. And in fact, it might actually be really cool to have him talk about some of that stuff. If
I'd love that.
He'd be down for a live stream too.
Yeah. Anytime anybody wants to talk ducks, they come on. They can anything. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, I get it. With a name like Daddy Duck, it's kind of like a giveaway. I wonder what this guy's into. 360.
Huh?
I wonder what this guy's into 365 days a year.
Yeah,
Yeah. Shooting.
Yeah, that was interesting. You had asked me when we were talking how I came up with that name, and it's really funny because my sister's second child, all the grandkids call my dad Papa Duck. And she came up, she was just learning to talk fairly decent. And she came up and she goes, well, if Granddaddy is Papa Duck, that means Uncle Matt is Daddy Duck. And it stuck. And that's what they call me.
Daddy Duck, huh?
Yep. That's what they've called me,
Dirty devil.
For years. So I said, well,
it fits. Shoe fits.
Yeah. You got to wear it.
Right. That's cool.
Neil, it is good to see you, man. You have been gone way too long. I haven't seen you in a long time, brother.
Welcome back. Where you been? Glad to have you.
I don't know. He just disappeared for a little while. I'm just glad to see him back. He's the one that got me. I was on the borderline of Boss Ammo.
Yeah.
And he sent me a handful of shells for my 12 gauge.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled the trigger on that thing and I went, oh, I like these.
Yeah.
And I screwed it on my 12 gauge. I put in a full choke in it like we used to back in the day.
Right.
When we could shoot lead. And man, that pattern, it was great. And I said, well, I wonder what it would do with my 16 gauges because I'd prefer to shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, man, they patterned even better than some of the old lead stuff I still have. Not that I shoot it a lot. I just, have some left over from years ago.
Right. Yeah, that stuff's pretty crazy. I think the toughest thing about it for people that are like, well, here's how you'll see the difference, and this has been my experience. Go get a box of experts and shoot the box.
Yep.
And don't let there be a lot of time in between when you shoot that one and then when you shoot boss. Like, you almost have to shoot several rounds to see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was kind of one of those things because I bought a case of boss last year. It was one of those things where I because a lot of the time I'm running a camera, but I still I'm still a little bloodthirsty. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of got to get the monkey off my back, shed a little blood, that kind of thing, shoot a few, hang them up. And then I can get back to doing the video thing. It was crazy that I was shooting 2 3/4. Okay. So a smaller load versus a 3-inch. 3-inch threes is what I would normally shoot.
Yeah.
I'm shooting 2 3/4, and these things are just dropping. And I'm not Annie Oakley, okay? I'm okay, but I'm way better at hitting them with a camera than I am with a gun. But man, it was really crazy. It's like it's a little bit more expensive, but I feel like I'm saving money in the long run by shooting them with something that drops them dead.
And you're shooting less.
Right. Yeah.
And I said it on the video that I put out today. 2 things are going to happen. You're going to pull the trigger. You're going to shoot and kill that duck. It's not going to be wounded. It's going to die.
Right.
Or you just flat out miss.
Yeah, which is the most ethical thing we could hope for as hunters and conservationists. Right.
Because you hit them. It's like hitting them with lead. The way the pellet expands, it's copper plated. So that's part of the damage there. Then you've got the bismuth itself, which expands like lead or similar to lead. And it's just, you get a lot of damage and it knocks them down and they're done for.
Right.
You may get the nervous twitch on the water, which I'm
the little leg kick.
Yeah. And I'm quite sure that people who've never shot boss before are going to continue to pour into them thinking it's like steel, and they're going to get up and fly away. Jen Phillips, what's going on, bro? Glad you're in here. Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to tell you, Jen. It reminds me of shooting Winchester Western Super X either the number 5, 2 3/4, or the 7.5, 2 3/4, and it will flat knock a duck down. You got it?
Yeah, I was reading the comments. Talking about shorts and vanity.
Who, what now?
I don't even know what's going on. That's just funny.
I never know.
So
most of these guys are fooling with themselves.
Oh, all right. Maybe they can do that when this is over. Yeah, hey, don't be fooling with yourself right now. So you mentioned something about 16 gauge. Is that kind of what you're shooting, or is that what you find yourself shooting mostly? Or are you shooting a 20 or 12, or what are you doing? What is your boomstick of choice right now?
Right now, it's always been the 16 gauge, and I had to quit shooting it when we started having to shoot steel.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody went to the 3-inch and 3.5-inch in the 12s, and gradually worked my way back down to a 3-inch number 3 and a 12. Now I do shoot the 20 for early season teal.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot number 4 steel, have been, but when the price of bismuth went down,
right,
a few years ago, I still wasn't. I started experimenting with heavy bismuth in the 20 gauge number 4s,
right,
and I'm sorry, the 16 gauge number 4s, and I just started liking it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pulled the trigger and picked up a few boxes of 5s and 7s from Boss, and I compared them and on pattern board, and I said, no, I'm going back to Boss. I'm going to Boss.
Right.
And I shot it last year, and I love shooting it. And I don't have a sweet 16. I have the standard 16, which is a fixed full choke, and I also have an 1100, a Remington 1100 in the 16 gauge,
right,
which I pretty much shot. That's what I shot last year.
Right.
Was the 1100. Man, I love it. Especially if you're in the timber.
Yeah, you're shooting them in the freaking face when you can see them
Yeah.
blinking at you when they're coming down.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually started thinking about. I don't know if my wife's going to let me pull the trigger on one. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, for timber stuff, because they're so close, I'm actually thinking about maybe trying to do a 410, a little bit of 410 action. I just think that would be, that'd be so fun, just carrying a little teeny tiny toy gun out there and just mashing them.
I can put my hands on a Mossberg 410.
Yeah.
Anytime I want to. So if I do get a chance to come out there one day, we're gonna have to order some 410 shells and say, okay, it's a 410 hunt. Let's do it.
410 hunt.
I know where I'm. You don't want to come to where I'm at. You're gonna shoot 2 summer ducks and eat a bunch of sausage biscuits, and that's it.
Hey, I love summer ducks, and you don't get a body like mine not finding sausage biscuits delicious.
Hey, Cecilia, how you doing? Welcome in.
Real quick question, everybody that's watching, and you, Matt. One of the questions I have is, what's your favorite duck and why?
My favorite duck
just your favorite duck. Like, if you could only shoot one for the rest of your life, which one would it be? Not
black
for food, but for fun.
Black duck.
Why? Why are you hating on the black duck?
Because I hate them.
I've killed one. I killed one in Missouri, and I took it to a taxidermist, and he freaking painted it like a gadwall. And I was like, all right, I'll never skimp on the old taxidermy thing again. So, but I'm also curious to know the folks that are watching, like, what is your favorite duck and why?
Yeah, I can tell you for me, we used to see a lot of them here. Now the conditions had to be right. It had to be a lot of cold weather. The water had to be right, and there was a certain location that they always came to. And I remember mornings where we passed up on mallards waiting to see if black ducks came in.
You snob.
And it just became,
what a snob.
And it would, yeah. And, and they're so hard to call in. I mean, they had that pintail mentality sometimes where they just circle and circle and circle and circle. And then they just go off somewhere and you're like, you throw your hands up. But yeah, the black duck has always been my favorite. I think it's a beautiful duck.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you look, well, you can't, but over here, I've got a bunch of corks, black duck corks, you know, over there. But what's yours, by the way?
So mine would be the other frustrating one you mentioned, the pintail.
The pintail.
Right. Yeah. I think I like them because they're hard to hunt. But so a little backstory. I was raised by my aunt and uncle, and my uncle was blind. So as a kid, I never got to go hunting. We fished a lot, which is still to this day, like crappie fishing.
Yep.
Sockeye, white perch, crappie, whatever people like to call them. I love to catch those stinking things and eat them. So I didn't actually go duck hunting until I was 26. About 25, 26, somewhere there. I'm 37 now. I knew what a mallard was. I'd always been fascinated with ducks, just never got to go hunting. And we shot, one of the guys that was with me the first time I ever went, shot a hen pintail. And I was like, so what kind of duck is that? He said, it's a pintail. He said, there was two of them that came in and y'all shot the hen. You didn't get the drake. And I'm like, a pintail? Like I had never even heard of it. So thankfully I had internet connection on my phone. So I Googled it and it was just like the wonder of duck hunting was already amazing. And then to see this like super beautiful duck that has this, really long feather and they look majestic like little unicorns when they're flying around. It just enamored me. And ever since then, I'm like, I
hope I don't hurt your feelings with this, but my dad and I went down to Matagorda Bay when certain ducks were 10 points apiece.
Right.
And you could shoot 100 points. And pintails, drakes, were 10 points.
Yeah.
And we were there for 4 days.
Free man.
We were there for 4 days, and we shot a 2-man limit of pintail drakes 3 days.
As you should have.
And the last day, we both looked at each other, and we were hunting with a guide.
I know where this is going. I don't like it.
And we just said, "Hey, can we
shoot something else?
Can we shoot something else?
Get out of here! Get out of here!"
He goes, "Well, I have a blind over here that has nothing but redheads on it," and we went and shot a 2-man limit of redheads. And yeah,
you're like, we're tired of driving Lamborghinis. Can you take us to a junkyard, please?
Yeah,
that's basically what happened.
As I said, I hate to hurt your feelings with it, but
unbelievable.
It was true.
See, pintails are beautiful. See, Smoking Barrels agrees. Yeah. So it's funny you say that. I'm hoping to go. I would love to go to Texas this year to A, hunt Texas, but B, I haven't yet to. I've yet to shoot a redhead. Missed the first part of the chat. Where are you from, Stephen? I'm from Texas, but I live in Alabama. I live over in Tuscaloosa.
But yeah.
All right, hang on. I want to take a minute and look through all these crazy people over here talking about why they like them because they're delicious.
Sure.
All right, so we got where are we at? Try Outdoors, TRI Outdoors. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to go with Try Wood Ducks because they taste good and are beautiful birds. Yes, amen to that. On the Grill, blue and green winged teal, plus fun to shoot at. Exactly, fun to shoot at. And teal are delicious, of course. Let's see here. Woody's also delicious. And pintails are beautiful. Eurasian widgeon. Eurasian widgeon is the number one duck I want to shoot. I want to shoot all of the ducks. They're all number one. But yes, that would be awesome. Matagorda, Texas. You hate
Duggar said that's where he's from.
W6. I hate pintails. The dang things just circle and circle. Keep moving some more before they head out. Yeah, you know what they're doing when they're circling? If you pull out your binoculars or a zoom lens, you look up there and the little jokers are sitting there flying around in circles, flipping you off because they know they ain't coming down there, and you're gonna break your heart and then fly off while they're flipping you off. That's why you should shoot them. That's why you should shoot them. They're little.
Now, so yeah, when you ask the question, I always, when people ask me what's my favorite duck, I have to say a couple of things first. My favorite to eat, or my favorite to shoot,
right,
or just my favorite duck. Period.
Okay, so what's your favorite to eat?
Wood ducks. But
Okay.
there's no comparison.
Yeah. So mine would be wood ducks or green wings. You could probably put them either, and I can't tell. Like, let's go. To shoot, black ducks.
To shoot, blue wing teal.
I'm gonna have to go mallard on that one.
I am not a mallard purist. I just don't think, I know a lot of people are, especially in our business. It's all about the mallard. Everything's about the mallard. Mallard's coming through the timbers like shooting a trash bag. He's just doing this number. And he's just, boom, 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 boom. But when that blue wing teal is cutting across that marsh, and there's 20 or 30 of them, and you jump down and you pull the trigger and you knock 2 or 3 down at one time.
Right. They're sporty for sure.
Right. To shoot blue wing teal, I absolutely love to hunt them. I mean, it's just, I can't wait to September season,
right,
to get a chance to go after them.
Yeah, I do like shooting blue wing teal. I the only thing that kind of stinks, I feel like, is I never get to shoot them when they're in plume. That's the only thing. Yeah. I got to take a photo of one this year. I went to Iowa, and there was some on a cow pond. I was going to see if I could find the picture. I went to Iowa, and there was some on a cow pond, and they were in plume, and I was like, it's a good thing I don't have a gun. Oh man, I am contemplating hard about breaking the law right now. Let me just be honest. So thankfully I did not do that. And I was able to get a picture of the little poo-poo head. Here it is.
Yeah. I've only shot one in plume, full plume.
Look at that little peckerhead. Just,
oh, that's beautiful, bro.
He's sitting here going, look at me, and he's flipping me off on the other side too.
Oh yeah.
But there was a cow pond full of them. Just spectator sport at that point. Garbage.
I've only ever shot one in full plumage. It was weird because we
shot it during season.
During season, it was actually in January here in South Carolina.
See, South Carolina is where you need to go if you want to shoot a blue wing teal in bloom.
But it was a fluke. And I mean, there were teal in there. There was a lot of teal in there.
Right.
And, but we were shooting a lot of summer ducks and we were shooting green wings. And, I saw a flash of blue and I didn't even call the shot. I had 5 guys with me. I didn't even call the shot. I just jumped up and shot. I said, that's mine.
Right. But, okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's your favorite? What kind of gun do you shoot?
So I shoot a Winchester SX3.
Okay.
And I shoot one of those because I wanted a Beretta, the Beretta Extrema, before they launched the new A400. I still want one. Still like my dream gun. But the SX3 at the time. So Jim Ronquist, guy who was with R&T, now he's with Drake. He's like my hero. And I told him that one time, and he made me feel really awkward for saying that, so I don't say it anymore. But at the time, that was the guns they were shooting on. I was an impressionable young man, and they cost a little bit less than the Berettas, so I went with that one. And now I own two, like fantastic guns. And like your decoys, I put my gun through it.
Yeah.
Like I break ice. Like if they get wet, one time I dropped one in a bar ditch and basically had to strip down, found it with my foot and picked it up. Like you're talking about, a bar ditch on the backside of a levee at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still pitch dark outside. I found it, shot ducks with it. Like it's fantastic. So, that's actually what I shoot. And I find it really cool. You guys talking about 16 gauges and all that stuff. I like guns, but I'm not a big gun guy. I find that fascinating that you guys have shot, different loads, different sizes to kind of really know what you like and the nuances of each one. I probably need to get more into that.
Hold on one second. Is Boxy in here? Because I did not see him come in. So Boxy, if you're here, man, welcome in. Appreciate you coming.
Me and Jan shooting the old SX3.
Yeah. I met Jim Ronquist many years ago before he lost all of his weight.
Right. You met Big Jim.
Yeah. And I actually, that little short you put up, I guess your wife was talking to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went, that's not Jim Ronquist.
Right. Who's that skinny guy?
No, that's not him.
Right.
But I met him. I actually called him one day, and I was when I was working overseas, and I came home and I wanted to go to Arkansas to hunt, and I called him up. I said, "Are you still guiding by chance?" And he told me no, and I was just like, "Dang," because I said it's always been I want to hunt with you. I've always that's as far as that conversation went. I mean, you probably figured I was some crazy guy, but
no, I don't. I think I mean this as a compliment. I feel like the man is almost humble to a fault. Like, I told him, I was like, Jimbo, listen, I know you don't think it, but you're basically an icon in this industry at this point, and you kind of just need to own it. Like just salt of the earth kind of guy. That actually kind of interesting story. That day, that short I posted, my wife and I have been married 11 years, and she's never went duck hunting with me. Okay. She went with me that day. We hunted private ground. Jimbo had his daughter and some of her Peanut, some of her sorority sisters were there, and Blake Fisher, he's the art director at R&T. If you watch R&TV, Blake's always the camera guy, basically.
Yeah.
And Blake had his daughter, who was a senior in high school. And so it's me and my wife, the guides, Jimbo and his daughter, Blake and his daughter, and like 5 other girls in their sorority. And we mashed on them pretty good. And so I'm like, my wife's first hunt, she's hunting with Jimbo and Blake and Kaysen and Kyle. Those were the guides at Byers Farm. But I was like, do you realize they're over here making a TV show and you're just kind of hanging out eating some Pop-Tarts and crackers? And we're shot 22 mallards and like my buddies are struggling, because it was kind of wonky weather that day. I'm like, girl, you don't even know how good you have it. So that was a pretty cool deal to be able to share that with them and their daughters, being a girl dad. So but yeah, Jimbo, super great guy. I'm excited for whatever they're doing over at Drake. He loves to turkey hunt too.
Yeah.
So that's really going to open some opportunity for him. So that's pretty cool situation for him.
So other than Jimbo, other than him, have you hunted with anybody else of duck hunting fame?
Yeah, so we did a teal hunt at Byers Farm with Lee Chose, who owns Boss.
Right.
I don't know if many people know this, but Lee Chose is he's like the OG, if you will, of outdoor photography for the duck hunting space. Like way back in the day, I don't know if it's Yukonuba or Purina. One of those, he was very instrumental in getting that brand off the ground. He is a wizard when it comes to photography stuff. So much so that we were, the night before we hunted, I was looking at a DU magazine and he's sitting across from me. And I'm like, I spin the magazine around. I'm like, Lee. He's like, yeah. I said, did you take this shot? He's like, looks up and goes, yeah. And I was like, okay. And I look it down and I open it. I see this one and I look here and it's like a Rig'em Right photo. And I'm like, that kind of looks like his. Hey, Lee. I'm holding it open. Yeah. Did you take this one? Yeah. He's like, and he's still editing. At the time, he was working on some photos he had shot with, I can't remember her name. She's the governor of South Dakota.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. She's like a really, really pretty lady who's in government, which I feel like is rare. And he was taking these pictures of her.
No, dear, she's not that pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Jake with State Farm. He's wearing khakis.
He's wearing khakis.
He is wearing khakis. So he was taking pictures of her and her daughter. They were like doing some stuff with horses and whatnot. And that was really cool because, I mean, he's such a great photographer. He's a super nice guy. And I think he's really annoyed with a lot of the social media-ness, I'll call it that, of duck hunting.
Right.
About the pile pictures and then like look it up. Like, it's kind of like, I often wonder this, how many people would actually duck hunt and at least go as hard as they do if social media didn't exist? You know what I mean? So he's like the guy who's like, that, I'm hoping we're all adults here. He's like, that, I'll say bull crap. That's bull crap, like just calling stuff what it is. So he was really cool to hunt with. Not necessarily because he's an excellent hunter. He's just a really cool guy who's done a bunch of interesting stuff, just super interesting.
Right.
Another person I haven't been able to hunt with, but Jake Latundris, who's actually Jim Ronquist's best friend. If you follow him, Jake was one of the guys who helped get RNTV up and going. Jake does a bunch of stuff with Bassmaster. That's her, Christy Noam, or I guess I said that right. Anyway, yeah, you can Google her later. She's a pretty gal. And so Jake's a really cool guy. We've talked a lot of shop, but a lot of these guys are, I mean, really down to earth and really, really knowledgeable hunters. But when you hunt with them, it's kind of like they like to hunt, but they're really there to hang out, which is, really even cooler, So
have a good time, which is what duck hunting should be.
Yeah.
Because duck hunting is it's a people sport. Not saying you can't solo hunt. I've done it. I'm quite sure you've done it, but
a
lot of guys in here who have hunted, they hunted by themselves, but in reality, it's a people sport. You get your friends and your family, you go out and you have a good time.
Right.
Mike Costello, how you doing, buddy? You fall down, you laugh, you joke, you make fun of dogs and shooting and just, all kind of things. So it's sometimes these guys, I've hunted with some people before and
right.
And they just want to let their hair down. If they're not working, they want to let their hair down and have a good time.
Right. And so in some of the opportunities I've had and working with different people, it's
good night, Mark.
It's kind of crazy, like where a camera will get you, I've got to work with a lot of these people. And the thing I've noticed is they just want and I don't mean this literally as far as like male or female. They just want to be one of the guys kind of thing. Like I freaking bust their balls. Like, we're out there calling ducks one day, and Jimbo's standing there. He's looking up at the ducks. He's still got his headlamp on. I'm like, Jimbo, turn your headlamp off, buddy. And he's like, oh my bad. You know how he is. I was like, no, it's good, but it's like most people wouldn't say something like that. But so one other person I do want to mention, not because I'm talking about who I've got to hunt with, but because he is a duck call maker and he is a super great guy. But Brad Allen, he's a 3-time world's champion. He has elite duck calls. I've done a bunch of marketing stuff with him. Super great guy. Super duper duper great guy.
I've never had the opportunity to meet him, but I have
go into his shop and you are the only person. You're the only person there. Great dude. He and I have been buddies for about probably the last 5 years. He'll give you the shirt off of his back. That's just the kind of guy he is. So I have an R&T and I have an elite on my lanyard at all times. Yeah. And it's kind of weird. It's because I care about the people. I consider the people that, I consider those guys friends, and I want to support their products. So anyway,
cool.
Little plug for Brad. He actually has a podcast. He has a podcast. If you go on his YouTube, Elite Duck Calls. I can't remember what he calls it, but he's all the time talking about some crazy stuff. He's got a lot of stories. In fact, he's got a lot of crazy stories from like when he went to do calling competitions and stuff. Like,
yeah,
he told one story one time. He's like, well, before I got married, which every good story starts out like that. Before I got married, he was practicing for something, and he said he was partaking of adult beverages a little bit.
A libation.
Yeah, and he said he really likes. He was listening to Aerosmith. He said, I had the Aerosmith so loud, and he basically would get his call and he would try to run his routine, and he had the radio so loud that he couldn't hear when he messed up, because he was basically like just trying to get his basically just trying to get his lip muscles just exhausted, to build them up. And it's just so funny because I think about it. I don't know how much he had to drink or whatever. I'm not saying he was drunk. I mean, he's not that kind of guy, but I just imagined him kind of, shuffling his feet, turning up, Sweet Emotions or something, and just doing a 21 note freaking highball as loud as he can. I don't know. Stuff like that entertains me. Like, I don't care how many ducks you kill. Like,
oh yeah.
You're an idiot, and so am I, and we can bond over that.
Yeah. I was my dad and I, we were in Arkansas one year, and him being an outdoor writer, we got to go on a lot of guided hunts and whatnot. And I was a kid,
right?
And we were getting into a pit blind. It was one of the first pit blinds I think they ever built. And smelled like a Dipsy dumpster. But we climbed in this pit, and the guide came up a few minutes later because he was just dropping us off because he knew my dad. We knew how to hunt, and we were just there to shoot some ducks. Daddy was going to take some pictures and then interview him later. And anyway, the guide came back, and he said, listen, you don't mind if somebody else climbs in the blind with y'all and hunts? And my dad, yeah, sure, more the merrier. Well, this pretty big guy gets into the blind, and he introduces himself to my dad, and my dad, who has never had a lack of words, could not talk. He was starstruck and spellbound. And the guy turned to me and said, and you are? And I was just a kid. And I said, I'm out, and it's my daddy. And he goes, well, do you know who I am? And I went, I have no clue to who you are. And my dad was like, son, shut up. And he just started talking to this guy. And of course, the guy told me his name. And like, again, my dad was so spellbound about this guy. And later I couldn't stand myself. Daddy, who is he? You know, who are you that you're making my dad sound like a giddy schoolgirl?
Right.
And he goes, well, I'm Carl Yastrzemski. I played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my dad's baseball hero.
Wow.
You know, I mean, my dad grew up watching him play and all this stuff. He was an old man at the time. And
Right.
but yeah, I had no clue who he was. You know,
Right.
but he started telling stories, playing baseball and the stupid things that they would do and all this kind of, I mean,
And
I
your
don't think
dad
we
just
got
like,
up that morning.
oh, this is so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
All right. There was something else I wanted to ask. I'm trying to go back to my notes here.
Notes. You got notes? I came unprepared.
I know.
I did have one question.
Sure.
And this is not for this is for you, but I definitely want to hear what everybody else has to say. But like, if you could change one thing about duck hunting today,
Ooh.
if you could actually change it, besides like I'd make the ducks fly to South Carolina only.
Yeah.
Besides that, what would it be?
Okay. I kind of said something about this earlier, and I guess I'll reiterate it.
Black ducks? Is this the black ducks thing again?
No.
You hating on pintails?
No.
Just get my emotions ready if you are.
This is quit planting corn and flooding it. If I had the power,
I'd kill you in your corn.
If I had the power, I would completely stop non-aquatic grain planting and flooding for ducks. You want to plant rice? Fine. You want to plant smartweed? Got no problem with it. You want to plant, but it's the unharvested grain fields and flooded is what gets me. Because I'm no farmer, but I am not dumb enough that corn does not grow in water. And it is, to me, it is a legalized form of baiting. You know, right now it's legal and it can be done. But if I could stop that one thing, that would be it. I'm 99.9% and 99.44 100ths. That is what's changed the migrations in all the flyways, in all of them.
That was too much math for me to catch on.
Huh?
But so that was way too much math for me to catch hold of. All your 99 and a third against this
44 100ths.
Exactly. The but where you're coming from is the legalized baiting aspect, not so much that it's like the nutrition type situation for ducks.
Well, it's I can go that route too. Corn. All right. When ducks start flying south, they need, for a good hatch for the next year, they need protein.
Yep.
And although there will be some invertebrate in the corn, they will go to the corn first, and it's carbohydrates, and it's not doing any, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. The natural seeds and the invertebrates that they need You know what I'm saying? That's what they need to have a good spring hatch.
Right. I have a friend that's a biologist, and he said, he's talking about deer. I never asked him about ducks. He said, feeding deer corn would be the equivalent to you having a diet of Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you pegged me. I do love Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
But I to your point, I can understand that. And I'm assuming with what you're saying,
yeah,
it's probably the same situation. It's not necessarily the protein that they're needing to give them, the energy that they need to migrate.
Yeah. They're going to need some hot foods, and that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the flooded cornfields put ducks into a more into a welfare state. So if you think about it that way,
they're getting handouts.
They're getting handouts.
Corn is like government cheese. Stop giving it to them. Make them get a job.
Well, if you think about it,
I'm kidding, by the way.
In the 1940s, was it crab orchard? And there was another big refuge up that way, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they would plant corn for geese. And they would actually, after they plant corn, they would actually truck in the truckloads of corn and dump it onto the refuge. Then
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because this dude says ducks have EBT cards and geese have SNAP.
Exactly. They would dump these truckloads of corn out there, and they would literally put up grandstands for the city folk to come watch the quote unquote migration.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been proven that even then, when they were stopping the migration, where Canada geese would migrate all the way to Louisiana, and from what I've read and what I have learned over the years, that even in the 50s, the geese almost stopped going to Louisiana. I'm talking about the big Canadas,
right?
The migrators, because they were short stopped by the handouts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that said, if we were to stop what we're doing now, what impact would it have on the ducks? Because you've had generations and generations of ducks who know nothing but corn. So what would happen to them if we were to actually stop? Which is probably a discussion best left to a more scientific mind than mine. But
right.
But it's one of those things. What would happen? And how many years would it take for them to rebound to going back to natural foods?
Mm-hmm.
It's. But if you're asking, I would.
That would be your thing.
That would be if I was in charge of Department of Interior, that would be as Phil Robinson most eloquently said, the Department of Interior needs to be run by a duck hunter who has a beard.
There you go.
Period. Now, the other thing, I mean, there's several things I would change, but that would be the number one. The second would be open up refuges.
Right.
To very limited hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the lottery draws, and hunts.
Right.
I'm throwing a number out here just to throw a number, because it would all depend on the size of your refuge. What's that?
I said 365.
Yeah. No, but let's say you had two parties of 10 hunters, or I'm sorry, two parties of 5 hunters per party. So you would, and I'm just throwing that number out just for sake of argument, but a limited number of hunters, 1 day a week, opened up on the refuge. They can go there. It's a lottery hunt. They have to draw for it or pay for the right or what have you. And let them hunt one day a week.
Right.
And it would have to be during the week and not on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would say that.
Gotcha. I saw Smoke and Barrels over here stopping government from spraying our lakes with poison to kill the food for the ducks. I'm assuming he's a diver hunter.
No,
maybe a big water hunter.
No, he's talking about our Santee Cooper. We had a lot of hydrilla on our lake,
right.
And they sprayed it. They introduced carp, grass carp, into our lakes to kill the grass. In turn, which even though we were seeing a reduction in mallards, now when we had a lot of other ducks, we had gadwall, widgeon, ringnecks, bluebills, redheads, canvasbacks on our lakes.
Gadwall freaking love that stuff. So do cans.
And we don't have nothing anymore. You get a few birds here and there, but for the most part, we don't have anything.
I wonder if all the big money that builds the impoundments has anything to do with that.
Maybe could be that, and the lakes are owned by electric co-ops, and they're there to make electricity. They're not there for the duck hunters,
right?
I think that would. I think that's a big part of it.
Gotcha. How about anybody else watching? What would you guys and gals change? I'm just curious. Not that I'm trying to create a movement or anything. I'm not. I think the thing I would change is I feel like people don't realize that there's an etiquette to hunting, like any kind of hunting.
Yeah.
Especially on public land, it's kind of like there seems to be a lot of, kind of disrespect to your fellow man, and wing shooting, duck hunting, upland, like wing shooting is a gentleman's sport, and it's people don't really respect others in that. If you get beat to a hole or something, you're yelling at each other versus like, hey man, we can either hunt together or sorry,
or not.
Better luck next time.
Because we're not going to kill nothing if you're doing what you're doing now. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Versus what will happen is they'll set up 100 yards away, and nobody's doing anything.
I had a young man ask me that same young man I met Saturday. He asked me if I ever hunted a certain portion of the lake, and there's no secrets anymore. So it's called Jack's Creek, and I said, yeah, I have hunted there. I don't hunt there anymore because of the people.
Right.
I mean, you can literally pass a cup of coffee around without spilling a drop.
Right.
It sounds like you can ask, Smoking Barrels, Andy. Like I said, we're good friends and we hunt together. And I mean, it is, it's bad. And duck hunters, not all duck hunters, but the ones I'm talking about that are disrespectful and whatnot, they don't know what they're shooting. They have no clue. I've seen guys shooting summer ducks during early teal season. They don't know what they're shooting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's early teal season, so it must be the only thing that's flying around is going to be teal. Well, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You have resident birds, both in mallard and summer ducks. So Greenhead Outdoors, how you doing, buddy? So these guys, they got no clue to what they're doing. I mean, none whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and instead of being coachable, it's like they'd rather argue with you.
Yeah.
The night before opening morning, there will be lanterns every 100 yards.
Yep.
What's this say? Free shells from all shell companies for 100% positive proactive ambassadors, starting with Daddy Duck, and keep them all well supplied. I like your style. All right, that was all the questions I had. It's kind of weird. It's almost like you kind of hesitant to like, what would you change? But
well,
you know,
so I'm going to throw this question out. Does anybody in here, real quick, not real quick, but does anybody in here have any questions for Stephen? I know I have some. I have quite a few.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And I really want to. Being a videographer,
Okay.
what is your camera of choice? While you're in the field for hunting, for hunting.
So I shoot. I recently just upgraded some camera stuff. So let me just start with that. I recently just purchased my dream camera. So I'm going to be shooting a little bit more on that. And that is, it's a red 8K camera. It's a Hollywood camera. I'm really
Can you
excited.
speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I just recently invested in a bigger camera that being how this is what I do. It's a red 8K camera. So I'm hoping to be able to put out more good stuff with that. The camera I use, I'm using either a Sony or a Canon DSLR, just because. Well, a couple things. If you're hunting where there is, let's suppose I'm gonna frame this question as if you wanted to get into filming your own hunts, so to speak, or filming hunts rather. The people that use the little camcorders, you know what I mean, the little handheld camcorders, the focus on those things, yes, those things are probably the best camera for capturing ducks. Now,
Really?
yes, because you can, you got the little zoom rocker there where you can zoom in and zoom out. One of the things that's really difficult, especially if you're hunting in the woods, is focus.
Right.
Okay, the focus on those things is pretty good. Now, one of the reasons as a professional I wouldn't use one of those is twofold. One, if you've ever, one is going to be frame rate, and the other is going to be the coloring, the ability to color or manipulate the footage. So frame rate, you've got several different frame rates. You've got 24 frames and you've got 30 frames. Now, to put that in perspective, 24 frame, and the reason frame rate's important is like motion blur. So if I take my hand and I move it, you see how it's kind of blurry in front of me? The news, if you watch the news is shot in 30 frames. NFL football is shot in like 60 frames. So you don't see a lot of motion blur. It makes it look like it's much more HD. Okay. Mm-hmm. It makes it look like it's much more clear. Movies are shot in 24. The news is shot in 30. I actually like the motion blur of like movies. So I shoot in 24 frames a second. Most of those little cameras won't do that. They'll shoot in 30. The other thing is the ability to color your footage. So if you look at like, take a movie where you see like these real cinematic scenes where like people's skin kind of is like, it kind of looks kind of blue, you know what I mean? Or it looks kind of orange. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that you can add to create these sort of moods, if you will. Like if it's cold outside, if you watch a movie and it's, an actual Hollywood movie and it's cold, you'll notice there's kind of like blue tones to everything. If you watch like The Martian, it's known for its color grading. It's kind of an orange color, or it has a much more warm look. Those those sort of feelings or moods that you're trying to create are almost impossible on that type of camera.
Oh, this little one?
Yeah. So that would be the reason professionals who want to manipulate their footage wouldn't use one of those. But to the guy that just wants to capture the stuff, like, go buy one of those things because they're really good. You don't really have to worry about losing the lens or swapping lenses if you want to do something else. They've got pretty decent stuff. So I particularly use a DSLR because I can go super wide angle, and I can do long focal length. I can also take photos and then just change a few settings, and then I can shoot video. So that me being a hybrid shooter is what that would be called. The person does photos and video.
Right.
I can do both. However, I probably do 85% video these days and just a little bit of photo stuff. But if you want to take photos, I would get a DSLR. That would be, one of the ones with the interchangeable lens. If you want to do video, get something like you were just holding up. I think you're shooting on a Sony, I believe I saw in your description on your channel.
Okay.
And a Panasonic.
We got a question here in the panel. For both, please each answer separately. How can you get the state you're in to enable a panel of 7 hunters selected by hunters to make what the season will be for everything? You go.
I feel like I'm on a spelling bee. Can you use it in a sentence, please? I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure I understand the question. How can you get the state you're in to enable a panel of 7 hunters selected by hunters to make the season? Yeah, you go, because I'm not sure that I understand.
Okay. Real quick, everybody quit arguing with everybody. All right. Now, got that out. I think I know what he's saying. And I hate to say it, Anti, but good luck with that. As you said, please don't reply with that. But
I'm going to say money, because I can't get my state to do anything.
Yeah.
Money. Just have a lot of money.
Okay. So, for example, Anti, our state has just went from the waterfowl permit, the state waterfowl permit, which was $5.50, is now up to $15.50. Now, they did that in order to try to boost revenue for wildlife management area, waterfowl management areas. And they're supposed to have an independent council, and I do this sparingly, non-political, to oversee DNR and make sure they're doing things right. The problem is, I don't think that you can get an independent hunter panel. Now, I'm looking down, as opposed to the state dictating it. Waterfowl seasons are dictated by the federal government.
Because they're a federally protected bird.
It's a federally protected bird. So the federal government says, this is how many ducks you can kill. This is when your season can open, but gives each state lets them decide which are the best dates. So, for example, the federal government comes out and says, okay, for duck season, and I'm just using ducks, not geese, but just ducks, you can hunt from September to the end of January. So you set your season dates in that. And because each year they do that, it is law. It has to go through the legislation. So it has to go through the waterfowl advisory board, which consists of your state representatives. your state congressmen and your state reps, because they're the legislation body and because it's law. So every year when you get the new regs out and you look at your season dates, that's law. And civilians, regular hunters, cannot make law. Only legislation can make law. Did that make sense? I hope it did.
So I guess because you asked most of us to answer, I'll take a stab at it. And Matt, I'll tell you, you're way, way more into this stuff than I am. I kind of tend to get caught up in the creative stuff. I don't know how you do that because basically I feel like all the they're looking at data from biologists. So if I'm putting myself in that position, I'm trying to figure out what the biologists are seeing. I'm trying to figure out how in the world to, biologists, at least in Alabama, are the license cells go to them. We don't have an excise tax like in Arkansas where, it's just added to anything and have a $21 million outdoor budget or something stupid. We don't have that. So I would say you would have to partner really, really well with the biologist on that and have a compelling reason as to why the seasons need to be changed, starting with data. And then the other thing is figuring out what in the world is the incentive for them to change the days. An example of that would be my friend Kaysen at Byers Farm. I've mentioned him several times. He actually thinks we should start the season earlier and end the season, start the season earlier and end the season earlier. And his reasoning is because you hear a lot of people say, well, we get the ducks early and the ducks are always gone by the time our season opens. His point is by the time January comes around, those hens they've already paired up. And when we shoot the drakes in January, she's not going to be able to find another mate by the time she gets back to the tundra and nests. So if we don't allow them to pair, in say January when they start pairing up and we start killing them, we're kind of doing ourselves and the ducks a disservice by not allowing them to go up and make more babies. So I don't want to say good luck with that. I just think how in the world can you bring the minds together and they're looking at all the sports and all wildlife, so to speak. They're just not duck hunters. So
right. But
it's kind of like stopping people from flooding corn.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Have a lot of money. That seems to fix things.
The other side of that argument, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I do agree with you on your points. But what you would have is a lot of, as far as the ducks are concerned, I agree 100%. The conservation side of me. The other side, the killer, the one that wants to kill ducks, says we're not going to get those ducks until late January. It's just, the South. I mean, we're just not going to get them. Mm-hmm. They won't be here in force.
I get it. Cause hunting Arkansas, like, man, when it's like the first or second week of January, the freaking mallards are there. They're all in plume. They're all studs. Yep. I just put up one of the last videos I posted. We were shooting them in the third week of January, and one of them looked like a freaking pond duck because he was so big. So I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think your southern hunters would jump up and down and scream and holler. But again, I've had conversations with people that and I agree with them. Sometimes I think our duck season is way too long, but you can't go off of the northern flights versus the southern flights because they're, because they are totally different on what's happening. I mean, you just,
yeah. So like northern states, they're still eating in dry fields. They're still trying to put on weight to come down and migrate. And when they get to the south, that's their wintering area. They are eating, but they're more concerned about pairing and breeding.
Right.
So it's like, they're eating all the way down. They get down south of the winter area, and then they're in the rut, basically.
Yep. And they're wanting invertebrates.
They're freaking
wanting invertebrates so they can have protein to make eggs.
Yes. They're coming down here rutting. Mama's got to eat so we can get back.
Yep. And do our thing.
To make chicks, babies.
So, how do you get those people together? I think is basically what Anti is trying to say. And, the legislatures, the waterfowl advice, I'm talking about my state, the Waterfowl Advisory Board, will take it. And I mean, they take into account what the biologists are saying. They get that information from them, and then they make the law. I mean, and basically those biologists are just going to tell them the same thing year after year. 2 weeks in September for early teal, your week in Thanksgiving, and then mid-December to end of January. And they're going to tell them the same thing every year. Yeah. Because that's all they're going to get out of them,
Right. And it could be totally Putin's fault.
It's all Putin's fault.
Sorry, I can't help myself sometimes.
Don't worry. Hey, listen, sometimes these chats that I've had, these live streams, I came in here a couple of weeks ago, dude. I was livid. It was not a good sight. It really wasn't.
Right.
I've already forgotten what happened that day in the news, but whatever it was had me absolutely nuts.
I did have a question. Smoking Barrels, you asked, would mirrorless work about the same way? Can you in the chat elaborate a little bit about what you're asking? As far as I'm assuming you're talking about mirrorless versus the camcorder that Matt referred to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we can answer that when you give us a little bit more color.
Me and Andy, who is Smoking Barrels, we hunt a lot together, and we've been talking about getting new cameras. He has a very small channel. I think he's got 1 or 2 videos on it. But he's looking for equipment. I'm looking to upgrade my stuff. I mean, I'm running. This is a little Sony Handycam, and that and a handful of GoPros. I have.
Oh, okay. So hang on one second. Smoking, Andy, you're talking about mirrorless versus a DSLR, correct? Just reply yes. I'll wait on it. Maybe. Is there a difference in the mirrorless and DSLR? I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The main, I guess DSLR and mirrorless are going to give you the same exact results, basically, as opposed to a Handycam DSLR compartment. Yes, okay, that's what we're talking about. They're going to be basically the same. The only thing, one of the things that makes the mirrorless really good is they are much more compact, and they have what's called an electronic viewfinder, EVF, and basically what that means is it's showing you a digital image rendering of what your image is going to look like when you take the photo or as you're shooting. So to y'all that have DSLRs, when you look through the thing, you're looking through the lens. And then if you take a photo, it's like it doesn't it doesn't matter what your exposure is. I mean, it matters, but you don't see the exposure when you go look through the viewfinder. On the mirrorless camera, it's digital, so you know exactly what it's going to look like. I shoot mirrorless because I'm way too dumb to shoot DSLR. If you want to get right down to it. I started out on DSLR and then went to mirrorless pretty quickly, and then totally forgot how to run a DSLR. So yes, I would definitely go mirrorless over a DSLR personally, but depending on how you're doing the stuff, you know, a small, you know, camcorder like Matt was holding is going to work really well. You said you have a Sony like Matt, but don't know how to use the camera like that.
Point and shoot.
Yeah. Is he saying he doesn't understand how to work the camera like you have, or work a mirrorless?
I'm not sure. I don't know if he's saying like I have, or if like what you've got.
Right.
Because I'm looking at the Canon M50. That's the one I've been looking at.
I'm gonna Google that on my phone really quick.
The Canon M50.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm looking at. And
okay, so why? So here's a couple other things. Here's the thing. I'm assuming most of you guys and gals that are on here have YouTube channels, okay, or else you may or may not be on here. The most important thing for video is audio. So invest in audio. Okay. I'm gonna go grab a little microphone. I want to show you guys really fast, and I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
It's like right there.
All right. I'm gonna try to answer Greenhead real quick.
Okay, really quick.
That was quick.
Yeah, I knew exactly where it was. I'm in my office and everything has place. This little microphone here, this little recorder, it's called a Tascam DR10L. If you go to my channel, I have a bunch of crazy things in the description, but if you go down, I will make sure I add it. It's like $200. Okay, it's kind of expensive for what it is, but the thing about it is it has a little teeny tiny SD card in it, and so you can put it on your stuff, and then you slide the thing over, and it records. It will record for like 12 hours straight. The reason it's great is because it's recording, and you don't have to worry about any signal or frequency issues if you have one of the shotgun mics. I mean, if you have a lav mic that, you know, is wireless, basically. You have to worry about, is the signal working? Is there batteries charged in both packs? That kind of thing. I love those things. What you can do is, if you're going to film the entire thing, turn that thing on, hit record on your camera, clap so that your editing software can sync them up, and then you're off to the races. If not, I would use a shotgun mic on the top of mine. Rode makes a shotgun mini at $60. Those things are fantastic for vlogging style stuff. Yes. So a shotgun like that. Also, Matt, if you're going to be vlogging, I noticed one thing when you were doing the planting rice thing. If you're going to be talking to the camera and then showing the viewer, one thing you can do to help that is turn the microphone around so it's facing you, and then you'll get better audio that way. So that's just kind of a pro tip. Audio is the most important thing. We can watch videos out of focus. We can watch stuff that sucks. But if you'll get good audio, that will make the videos that much better. The other thing I would say is there are 1 billion hours of YouTube watched a day. This is part of the research I've been doing. Everyone should have a YouTube channel. If you're looking for that type of stuff to grow, to get brand type deals and stuff like that. Like, I think it was over 30% or over 1/3 of mobile traffic comes from YouTube. So it's crazy. Also, backstory, I work for a really big marketing company. That's what my background is in. I just kind of specialize in video, but I'm basically a marketing consultant. That's what I do for a living. So I guess I would technically be a video strategist if you want to get down to it. But yeah, so any of those questions you guys might have, put them in the comments of my videos, whatever. I will make a video answering your specific question with in-depth things of how I set it up, how I edit it, all of that.
You know, I was actually going to say something to you later, but I'll just go ahead and do it now. I was going to do this offline, but since you mentioned that, there is, as far as I know, I cannot find anything of the billion views that are watched daily that has information on outdoor YouTubers as far as video, as far as video and audio. If there's anything out there, I haven't been able to find it. And I think that would be a good, something that would be, I know I would watch it because I want my stuff to look better.
Okay, so so let's unpack that, because I would love to shoot a video specifically for you. Like, hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. This video is for Daddy Duck 365. Go follow him. Go follow his followers. Subscribe. All that stuff. Let's unpack what you want to know. I would love to do that video. So help me understand more of what kind of is it the look you're going for? Is it technical things like mics and stuff? Like what would help you the most?
Well, let's kiss it, okay?
What?
Let's kiss it. Keep it simple.
Oh, keep it simple. I'm like, wait a minute.
And you're looking at a lot of a lot of video potential here, because you can talk about a camera. Inexpensive. I mean, you don't really need an expensive camera. I mean, this one, it's a $300 camera.
Right.
This hunk of junk was $175.
Right.
I don't like the audio is great on this thing, but the video sucks.
Right.
I use this very rarely. I use this a lot, and that in GoPros. So I don't know if they make external mics for a Sony Handycam. They may. I don't know.
Right. So one thing to point out. Let me grab a camera really quick.
Sure. Real quick, let me answer this question real quick for Anti.
All right.
Is there anything currently in South Carolina you feel that can be hunted sustainably year-round aside from varmint and squirrel?
Snakes.
If you consider hogs a varmint, I would say hogs could be. They are hunted 365 days a year. So that's that, and I would say hogs. But if you're talking about normal game, deer, ducks, doves, quail, no. There has to be seasons, in my opinion. Everything has to have a break. Everything, in my opinion.
No, and in my opinion as well. Like turkeys, for example.
Oh yeah.
Hunters, we only make up like 5% of what's trying to kill a turkey.
Yeah.
That's why they're so freaking paranoid. They're out near impossible to kill because they spend their life on the run.
We don't have a fall season here, and I don't want one. I wouldn't want one.
I think there's one county in Alabama that has one. The rest of us don't. And Alabama's like number 2, according to NWTF, behind Missouri for turkeys.
Yeah. I wouldn't want a fall turkey season. So anyway, I hope. Yeah. Okay. You said thank you. All right. Go ahead with your camera.
Oh, so this is a Sony 5100. Okay. Little camera. I like its flip up screen. I bought this for some stuff I was doing. Here's what I didn't check. I didn't check if it had an audio jack. Okay. So if you guys are looking at buying new cameras, make sure it has the audio jack for a little 1/4 inch for you to plug your external mic in, because this is a great little camera. It's awesome. It shoots little pictures, goes in my pocket. I can't vlog with it because the audio sucks. I have to use, one of these, which is not the end of the world. But it makes my workflow that much more difficult. So I would say that would be a really important thing for me. Also, make sure it has 1080. You don't really need 4K unless you're doing reframing. That's kind of a gimmick to get people to buy stuff. That camera you said sucks. I guarantee it's shooting 720 resolution. That's why it sucks.
Well, it says 4K on the outside, and I dialed it down to 1080.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the settings for it. It's just I don't like the way the video comes out.
Gotcha.
It looks to me it's grainy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, real grainy. And there's no zoom. It's got 30. The zoom is like
30x.
Yeah. So it just for trying to shoot for vlogging. If I'm just setting the camera up on a tripod and I'm in front of it, it's great.
Right.
The Christmas video I did that I put out today, it was done on that particular camera. And I had 2 cameras running that day, and I just picked the best one I like. So
right. There you go.
I did. So, but yeah, what you're saying now in a video, talking about the camera, different cameras, what you need, what you don't need, talking about how good audio is the big thing. Don't know if I can put my hands on it.
But I think one of the other things from a video standpoint that I always ask myself is like, is this boring or is this something I would watch? And I find myself whenever I get to editing, I cut out a lot of my talking because I feel like I'm trying to make points versus this is a video show. Don't tell, show. So I try to. That's the reason I try to use some what people would call cinematic sequence, which basically means slow-mo. I try to make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more dynamic with that, because I think we as waterfowl hunters, when we think of shooting ducks, we always think about it in this epic slow motion, like, I shot him, and then he fell. You know what I mean? The dog retrieved him, come back. It's like, but it's all so fast. So I try to maybe kind of recreate what maybe our mind's eye sees in that. But my goal is to try to talk less, show more. So that's kind of a strategy I'm thinking. Is this boring? And if it's boring, just speed up or just cut that stuff out. Kind of get to my point faster. That maybe.
Well, I think that you will have some who like for me, I would watch it because I want to learn more about it.
Right.
But I may not have time to watch a 15-minute video. And I've had some videos that are 30 minutes.
Right. But
it was full of information and I couldn't figure out what to cut out.
No, I get that. So my strategy, so like even if which I'll do because I want to help you and anybody else that's interested in this because I love it. Probably what I will do is I'll do like a series, a outdoor videography series. We'll talk about mics. We'll talk about cameras.
Right.
We'll talk about editing, kind of what you need, what you don't need, and then some tips I've learned from shooting a lot of crappy footage. Here's how to shoot less crappy footage.
Right. Yeah, a whole series.
Yeah, go watch my videos if you want to see crappy footage. Here's how you get maybe less crappy footage.
Yeah. Grant McIntosh, who I don't know if he's still in here or not, great guy. And he made a comment on one of my videos I'll never forget, but I have no way to change it. And it was a fast morning for summer ducks. I mean, it was like they were bam, 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 bam. I mean, it was just like that. We're done. You couldn't see the ducks. You could see the muzzle flash because they come in, right at daylight.
Yeah, and if you try to brighten it up, it's going to look really, really grainy. It's called noise.
Yeah, and there's no way I could fix it. But that's one of the things I'm like, okay, well,
Okay, so let's here's one thing. Here's another thing, and I can definitely talk about this. And I know some of you guys may not give a crap about camera stuff, so I apologize. Matt's taking it that direction, so you blame him. File all the complaints to Matt, not me.
Well, there's only 4 of us in here now, so I don't care.
All right, well there you go. So one of the things is if you get a camera with an adjustable lens, try to get one with the lowest f-stop number. So like I have a camera that has a f1.2. What that means is it's allowing a bunch of light in. Okay. The trade-off is focus is really, really hard to find. So you can probably get a good lens that's like a f1.8. It's going to allow for better low light. You just need to know that you're going to struggle really hard with focus. Also, if you get a mirrorless camera, try to shoot manual focus, especially in low light, because the autofocus will lie to you. I've had so many shots that I thought were going to be awesome, and I go watch them back, and I'm tracking the bird. Everything looks good. Color's fine, all that stuff, except it's just this little blurry blob because I missed focus. So it's a trade-off. I actually have to physically practice setting focus. Like you could push a tire swing back and forth or something, like basically follow it and focus away, follow it and focus coming back, or somebody throwing a ball, follow it coming to you, follow it going away, that kind of deal. So you have to practice with manual focus. But that's one of the reasons those particular lenses are more expensive, because they're better in low light. Sonys are really good in low light, which is why I would recommend, maybe a Sony if you go the DSLR mode. If you want to take pictures too, that's another reason to have a mirrorless camera versus a handy cam. But try to find one with a low f-stop number, and that'll get you better light. And when it's low light and the woodies are coming in and guns are, barrels are blazing, you might be able to recover some of that in the future.
Yeah. And would you believe we're over 2 hours now?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, everyone.
No. That's okay. We were talking about that earlier. I said, I usually run my live streams 2 hours. And you're like, well, I'll see what I can do for 2 hours. And I told you, 2 hours, you get to talking.
Well, you hit me at cameras at like an hour and 45. What are you expecting?
I love it. But I do got to get up early in the morning. I'm going to be going to work, but
no, it's all good.
I got to leave here at 4:00 in the morning to go to work.
Hey,
but
somebody out there is glad that you're going to work. Okay.
So I hope it's my wife, if nobody else. But
it's her.
Steven,
other people.
I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Yeah, man. Had a blast. Thank you.
We got to do it again. If you want to do this again on your channel, or you want to come back to my channel. If you see me go live one night, you pop in, I'll ask, hey, you want to come up? Because I'm always doing stuff like that. So
sure.
Just have a good time and talk. And, we got a month and a half
till duck season, teal season.
Well, till early goose to September 1. And here, then we got teal comes usually around the 13th, 14th, 15th of September.
Right.
And I'm gonna be chasing them out. I'm gonna be chasing them hard this year, hopefully. But
I hope to chase everything with feathers hard. I get it.
I'm ready.
Well, look. I thank you. Thank everybody that showed up. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for thanking me. Very kind of you. This was very helpful as far as like what can I do as a videographer to help give back to, folks that are trying to do, put out better content. I'm all about that. So I'm walking away from this with some information about South Carolina, which is really valuable, and how I can
don't come here to hunt.
Listen, I don't want to go anywhere there's not ducks, okay?
Yeah, well, you ain't got them here.
If you got them there, I want to come there.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to have you here to just to hang out, but I can tell you now that I got a couple of holes that are good for a day or two on summer ducks, and that's it. That's it.
Hey, they are fun. Yeah, maybe we should talk about that. See if we can line something up. It'd be fun.
We'll do that. We'll try to line some up this year. Something.
All right. Sounds good. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. You have a good evening. Everybody in chat who's left, thanks for coming in. Again, go and check out Steven's channel. He's got some really good content, whether he thinks it or not. I love it. Go check him out. Show him some love when you get there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And guys, we will see y'all next time on Daddy Duck 365. Y'all have a good evening. Good night.
I do like that shirt idea. Anti. See y'all.
Don't want to go anywhere there ain't ducks. You know what, Anti? That's not a bad idea. I may do that. Y'all have a good night. Take care.